Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Tuesday, October 26th, 2021. I'm Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. We've got a 5-game NBA DFS slate for you here. And Coach, real strong night last night for you, especially on Yahoo. Nice 6x return on your primary lineup there. How are you feeling about the Tuesday slate after that nice night last night?
I'm excited, man. It was great to see, our DraftKings clipboard and DraftKings lineups, and like you said, Yahoo. When you can go overall 6, 7, 8x on your investment, which was a mixture between those two, it's fantastic. And we had a lot of our members do well. FanDuel, not quite as much, just one or two players difference. So we're going to try to tighten up the FanDuel side of things tonight, and hopefully can sweep the board because I know this is like sort of your favorite size amount of teams with 5 games. So I'm ready. I'm excited that we're doing, we haven't been doing as many podcasts together. Hopefully that'll increase more as football, gets to the point where they get to playoffs and everything. But love doing a show with you and excited to absolutely hammer today. And let's try to sweep all 3 sites tonight.
Yeah, let's do it. I do like this 5-game size. And interesting, all the totals, Coach, are between 218 and 223.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? There's no big game that you would expect, to be able to focus on.
Right. We only have 3 of the 10 teams involved in a back-to-back, so not too bad there. We do have some big injury news with guys like Embiid and a fellow named LeBron questionable. So let's go game by game as we always do, starting with that 7:30 tip Eastern time. Philly in New York. The Knicks are 1.5-point favorites, total 218 on betus.com.pa, one of our partners. And the injury news here with Philly, we've got Simmons and Milton still out. The big guys, Embiid and Drummond, questionable. And then on the Knicks side, we've got Nerlens Noel questionable. But what do you think about this Philly side as we wait on the news on the bigs?
Yeah, and I'll throw in there the implied totals per team as well. Philadelphia is at 107.5, Knicks at 109. The Philly side is very interesting. You really don't know until you get the news, but it's getting a little frustrating because I think Embiid has been questionable like every game so far. That becomes an issue. Now, I think I am going to play project this as if he's playing. So I'll look at it from that perspective. I've been with Tyrese Maxey at that 6K number on DraftKings. He's floated around that. And I think it's been, worthwhile. He hasn't had a blowout game. But again, with the other guys still being out and not playing, I think that he's, his role is there. And whether Embiid's in or not, he's going to get minutes. And I think he can produce. And certainly Kemba and Fournier and Rose are not defensive wizards, even though the Knicks are a good defensive team, but not from the guard spot. So Maxey remains in play for me. Curry, I know, is going to grab some ownership because of, what he did that last game. Insane in the first quarter with 6 threes. I'm not there at all. I just don't think it's a great play at 5-9 because, you look at the second, third, and fourth quarter, he did not do much. Tobias Harris at 8K is always a great play if Embiid sits, but it becomes a stretch if he plays. And then, as we all know, when Embiid plays, he's generally going to hit his number. But, the fact that he keeps lingering on this injury list every game at almost 10K is a little bit of a concern. We'll have that great scenario when he does sit to play Drummond, but now Drummond's out. So like you mentioned, it could be interesting. We need the news on Embiid to feel comfortable with it. But really for me, I'm not crazy about the implied totals, the overall total, the game flow. And it may be Maxey for me, but I like him sub 6K. And not crazy about the Philly side, Andrew. What about you?
Yeah, very similar. Maxey, my favorite play over there, 6K. Like you said, great matchup against that Knicks backcourt because they are strong defensively but weak there. And if there's trickle down news, you could get into a big that you like with Philly. Keep an eye on Paul Reed at 3,200.
Right.
If Embiid and Drummond are out, then he'll become a very popular value play.
No doubt. If
But
they're
without,
both ruled out, Paul Reed is the must play free square at 3.2. Let's face it. And do you ever think you would hear those words from?
yeah, well, he is one of those guys that he just usually is out of the rotation, but then he'll show up in summer league, get minutes, and do great.
Yeah,
So,
preseason as well. Yeah.
Yep. On the New York side, this guard rotation is a real mess here to start the season. Kemba, the new guy in town, but only 19 minutes in the last game against Orlando. So you've got Rose still getting his minutes off the bench. Quickly is there. Burks still. Fournier, has had some strong offensive performances here. And so it's just way too jumbled up for me. A couple of those guys are cheap. But Burks at 3,800, he's probably the guy I would look at the most, but I think he may have to deal with some Thibault coming off the bench. So I'm just going to forget the backcourt for New York tonight. And Randall is the guy for me on New York. Mid 9K range on both sites. Just terrific start to the season, good usage. So I'm going to have Randall, I think, as my key play from this side and probably fade the rest of New York.
Yeah, when guys split positions, I'm out because I just don't want to deal with that. And I'm not even going to mention the names, but the Knicks backcourt, it's ridiculous. The usage is completely split amongst a bunch of guys. Don't even want to consider that. And it's interesting for me on this one. It's all dependent 100% on the news. If Embiid plays, I am going to fade Julius Randle just because I think Joel Embiid is the best interior defender in the league, period. And statistically, it proves out. And Randle, although he can hit some threes, he's generally going to penetrate for the interior jumper, 16, 17-footer, or get to the basket, a tip in, a putback. And a lot of that is eliminated with Embiid in the game. If Embiid sits, then if they do have to go to a Paul Reed or whomever, then I think Julius Randle is a must and a perfect fit. So that's going to be pivotal on the information. And again, if you want to keep up with that information, join us at dfscoachtalk.com because we're going to be talking about like this exact subject in our Discord throughout the day, all the way up until lock. So that really is what it comes down to. And don't want a lot of exposure, even though it's only a 5-game slate. I think this game becomes a bit of a grind, a defensive, intense game. So it really may end up being Julius Randle or bust, depending on the Embiid news.
Yeah. The old coaches who used to be together in Boston, certainly going to be all focused on defense here.
Yep.
All right, game 2, we move to 8 o'clock Eastern. Golden State in Oklahoma City. The road team here favored by 9.5. Total at 223. We've got the 3-0 Warriors against the 0-3 Thunder. This is a front end for OKC. They host the Lakers tomorrow. Same injury news with Golden State. Clay, Wiseman, Kuminga still out. We've got Iguodala probable. And then on the OKC side, we have Derek Favors out getting some rest. Yeah. So what are your thoughts here on the Golden State side in a matchup with a huge favorite here against a winless Thunder team?
Well, I like the 223, 224 over under. It's been vacillating back and forth. The implied total for Golden State's 116.75, which is a really healthy number. And Oklahoma City is 107.25. But you have the factor of, is this, it's going to go one of two ways. The game could blow out with almost a double-digit, spread, or it could be a look-ahead game and just day off for Golden State where they don't come to the court completely ready to play. So there's two different schools of thought there. I lean a little bit more towards the fact that they're just so much better than the Thunder and playing a lot better. So, we'll see that potential of it being a 15, 18, 20-point game definitely would hurt guys like Curry and the big minutes players for the Warriors. Who it won't hurt, though, in my opinion, who gets the extra run in there is Jordan Poole, and then it would bring Damian Lee into play a bit. But I like Poole at the still sub-6 number, the fact that he's somewhat blowout proof and that, this game fits him well. I think, we'll see who Lou Dort is going to guard. He'll probably spend some time on Curry and Wiggins, so it will allow Poole, I think, to have the lesser defender in the backcourt on him. So he's sort of the target still, and he's not been super consistent. He can definitely hit some dry spells, but the Thunder are not good defensively. They're not good at all. And, that's why I consider that. I don't think you have to go all the way down to a Looney at 3.6. He is always a punt play if you want to spend up for another star somewhere else. Draymond, too much for me at 7-1. I get his potential, but I also see him passing up shots and everything as normal in a lot of spots. Plus, again, if the game gets a little out of hand, he's not going to soak up those extra minutes. Last thing I'll mention, too, on the Golden State side is their bench a little bit. We need to keep an eye on that. Otto Porter's been getting some minutes along with Lee, as I mentioned, because their backcourt's thin. Gary Payton II played a bunch of minutes the other day. I don't have the courage to go there. But Bjelica is interesting at 4-2, especially in a GPP. And Toscano Anderson, who the big controversy is, he's listed as Toscano Anderson everywhere. But on his jersey, it says Toscano. So I'm still going to say I'm dropping the Anderson, but it's okay. Either way, it's the same guy. But, at 3.1, I mean, it's great when you can make a punt play. Like last night, a big thing for me was I went with Nicholas Claxton. I bit the bullet, felt that he'd get enough play, get those minutes, and it allowed me to buy up in different spots, which was a big secret to the success of that lineup. And, somebody like one of those guys off the bench for them could play that role, but, I'm not going to recommend it just yet. I like the Poole side of it. And I don't know, Curry at 11K, man, maybe you have more courage than me. I love Curry. He's been phenomenal. His usage is off the charts, but 11K that's a lot of bananas.
Yeah, it is. Probably too much for me. I mean, it's hard to fade him because he's been just red hot, averaging over 60 fantasy points a game. And he could just drop 25 in the first half again and pay it off. But yeah, I'd be more likely to go with Poole. I agree. A little inconsistent, but I like that he got 4 stocks in the last game. Nice full line. So definitely playable. And I agree. I think I'll have the better matchup than Curry. I think Dort will spend some time on Steph. So Poole, probably the guy most likely to play from that starting lineup. Looney, a potential punt play, like you said, but not getting over 20 minutes yet, and we may have some other value at the bigs tonight. Damian Lee, he's been getting good 27, 28 minutes on average. Very cheap at 3,800. He's in play for me. That's my primary focus here. It's a tough game to break down here with Golden State because Oklahoma City, their 3 losses this year, Coach, as you know, they've lost by 21, 33, and 12. So they haven't even kept it within double digits yet. Don't see any reasons to predict that they will here tonight. So the minutes and the rotation could be thrown off a bit for Golden State.
Yeah, it's a scary game, but if it does somehow stay within single digits, it could break the slate. That's the thing that's tough.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, if Steph comes back in for those last 6 minutes of the fourth, then you would think that he could get to his number again.
And even Wiggins, we didn't mention Wiggins, but he's sub-6 in a closer game. He could get some numbers.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
All right. On the OKC side, we have Favors out. So let's see what the starting lineup is. We're recording this at lunchtime here on Tuesday. I'm thinking Roby might slide into that starting lineup and join the other crew that's been out there, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Giddey, Dort, and Baisley. And for me, Roby is playable if he starts 3,700 on DraftKings, but Looney is pretty tough defensively while he's out there.
Yeah.
So, there were times last year when we loaded up on Roby, and so it's possible. But at this point, I'm not ready to lock him in. I'm going to keep playing with it. Giddey is the guy I like tonight here. 5,800, almost a triple-double last game. I know you've been talking about him here throughout the preseason.
Yeah.
And so he's trending in the right direction here very early in the season, but he's playable for me. Shea was great in the last game, little pricier. You could go there. I don't see myself going to Dort or Baisley, and I don't see myself going to anybody on this bench, Coach. We're back to deep rotations for OKC, different guys every night. The one thing we can do is follow the beat reporters, and they are very transparent with who's going to be in the rotation each night. So, if you want to go there, at least confirm that. But I don't think we need to tonight. So for me, it's mostly Giddey, Roby, maybe Shea, maybe, and that's it.
Yeah, I really am pretty much, for the most part, washing my hands of the Thunder for a while. I mean, they're horrible, so they get blown out in a lot of games, and their rotation is inconsistent and all over the place. And the weird thing about it is there are guys that haven't been in the rotation that it looked like at the end of last year they were going to be key contributors. I mean, you're getting Shea and Dort and Giddey, Baisley, and then the center, again, you've got a combination of these guys, that could play it. Yes, Roby, maybe Muscala. He's been getting some minutes. They wanted to work in that Jeremiah Robinson Earl, so you never know when he's going to pop up. And then all of these guys on any given night, Kenrich Williams, Maladon, Pokacheski, Ty Jerome, Gabriel Deck, who were big contributors last year. Not that I'm recommending any of them, but I bring them up to say they're all potential minutes getters, especially in these games where they get it handed to them. So I'm definitely sour on their side of the ball. I will say this, though. In the right matchup, Shea can be a slate breaker. He really can. But he also can be a heartbreaker because he's been inconsistent. I do sort of like him here, though, Andrew. So maybe you can talk me out of it. But Curry, Poole, and Lee are not good defenders. And I think they want to get Shea rolling, because if they're going to at least be competitive, not just win games, be competitive, he's got to have the kind of game like he had this last game where he was terrific. They still lost, but at least he made it respectable. So I know 8.1 is high. It's going to scare a lot of people. But one thing Golden State does not do well is they don't defend well at all in their backcourt. So I'm thinking about trying to fit Shea in, because I think when people see that north of 8K on DraftKings, it's going to scare them. So I'm looking at him, and he's the guy generally in the matchup for Oklahoma City that I will consider. After that, like you said, it's a crapshoot other than the up-and-comer Josh Giddey. And I have been on so high on this guy since the draft. I think he was the steal of the draft at 6'9". He can play the positions 1 through 4. He's not a bad defender. He'll get you some blocks, and he's not afraid to take it to the bucket. He's gutsy kid, and he's, as long as he stays sub 6, I think you got to consider him at times. Now, again, how's that rotation going to work? How's it in games where they get blown out? I'm not sure. The one guy I'm a little south on now is Darius Baisley. I had ridden him because he was 5K and below. But again, with all of that rotation, the inconsistency, I'm not there. So you'll hear probably this repeat every time we talk about the Thunder. Shea, if it's the right matchup, Giddey because he's blowout proof and has triple-double type of potential. But after that, the Thunder are bad.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm not going to try to talk you off Shea.
Okay.
Certainly he could be the key guy tonight. All right, Coach, before we get to your Mavericks in Game 3, just want to invite folks to hit that thumbs up if you don't mind. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you like these podcasts in front of the paywall, and hit the alert button so you know when they post. They're going to keep rolling out 7 days a week along with our other sports. So stick with us, and we appreciate all your support. All right, Coach, Game 3, we've got Houston traveling to Dallas to take on your Mavericks, and your Mavs are 10.5-point favorites. 221.5 total, 8:30 Eastern tip. John Wall, of course, still out for Houston. But other than that, these two teams are ready to go. But let's start with the visitors here. We got to hold. Dirk is anxious back there with Dawson to hear about these Mavs. But let's start
Both
with
sides
Houston.
are Mavericks here. We're ready.
How about Houston here? 1 and 2, the youth movement. Any interest on that side tonight?
It's interesting. The implied total is only 105.5 for Houston, which surprised me. And Mavericks, a nice, healthy 116 implied. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure why Vegas is so low on their total. They're not that good. I get it. They're not playing that well. They're using some of their bench. And I think this is a great home opener for Dallas to play a team like this. I'll mention a couple of guys that I would slightly consider, but I don't think their price is good enough. That's why I may not have any Rockets. The three guys that I want to think about are Kevin Porter Jr. at 6'8", Jalen Green at 6'1", and Christian Wood at 8'4". Those three guys give me some interest because, I think their upside is really high. And again, blowout proof to some extent, especially Porter and Green, because they're going to get as many minutes as they can eat at the guard spots together. So I've been playing one or the other of those guys in certain matchups, but not sure I'm going to go there in this game. I'd lean, believe it or not, a little towards Jalen Green. I just think at that price, he can hit value a lot easier. Christian Wood is a guy I want to play. We know that Dallas has trouble against bigs, but at 8'4", I'm not sure he gets enough of those fourth quarter minutes if Dallas lays one on him, being a double-digit favorite. So it scares me a little. I'm sure I'll use Wood on a GPP, but for right now, it's possibly Green, and, that's about it. I'm not real high on their bench either, Sengun and that whole group, Gordon. I just don't think that they deserve a play even in a 5-game slate.
Yeah, Green probably my favorite as well.
Okay.
Like that he's cheaper than Porter Jr. He's shown the upside with the scoring. Porter Jr. having a lot of trouble with turnovers so far, especially on FanDuel. Those are killers.
Yeah.
So I lean Green there. I do like Wood. He's definitely playable for me. But I'm also probably going to lay off that bench. We've got House back in the mix, who I think will interfere with Nwaba, who's had some decent returns here early. Gordon, very inconsistent. Şengün, I think we need to keep an eye on him. At 4,300, I don't think we need to play him tonight, but very talented, and he's getting as many minutes as Tice and, returning a lot more value than Tice. So
he is, but they're still splitting minutes, which hurts,
Yeah. And we may have more value at the bigs today, so we don't necessarily need to go there, but keep an eye on him. On the Dallas side, Coach, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Luka. I'm probably not going to go there. This is a slate full of stars. I mean, we've already talked about Curry, Embiid. We've got Luka. We've got LeBron and the Lakers guys. We've got Jokic. So, I mean, you're going to have to fade some of these studs. He's just not off to a great start yet. I'm a little bit more interested in Hardaway Jr. Scored 25 on Saturday.
Yeah.
6,700. He can be inconsistent, so he's not locked in for me. I do like Brunson as well. Good start to the season. 4,200 on DraftKings. Feel really good about 6x or so there. And I don't plan to hit on anybody else with Dallas. So I'm looking really more at the guards here.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. For me, and again, when I build my lineups, I don't look at the times of the games, who the teams I root for. None of that stuff comes into play. I promise you that. Luke is my favorite play on the slate. I think he's my buy-up guy. He's in everything I'm going to do, both cash, hybrid, and GPP, all three of them. He's just under that 11K mark at 10.9. I know it's a huge price, but his usage and against a team with a young backcourt that can't defend him really, I know he's going to get Jayshawn Tate. I get that. That's going to happen. But Jayshawn is a very fine defender, but I think he's going to have difficulty staying out of foul trouble. they're going to run a pick and roll where they're going to, with everybody, where they're going to pick Tate off. And that means he's going to be guarded by Porter or Green a lot of the time, or even maybe a Tice. So I think that high pick that the J Kid runs in this offense is going to really hurt them. Now, if it was the old style where they didn't set that pick as much and Tate was going to be able to focus on him, I would feel differently. But it's a different Maverick team. Carlisle ran it completely different than what Kid's doing. And he's really trying to put Luka in positions to where he's against a defender where he's a plus offensive player. And they're going to run that. And it's been a little bit of an adjustment because it's a new system. And Luka hasn't smashed numbers yet. But it's against a backcourt defense of Porter and Green that is, I mean, this is like we're almost talking about Garland Sexton last year with the level, to me, of the level defense. Now, I think they have potential to be better. And, statistically, though, they'll get there, I think. But they're not there yet. And I think Luka, with being able to back them down and do the combination of things that he can do, if he just hits some threes where he keeps people honest coming off of that pick, it's going to be lights out for them. So I think Luke is a great play, and sorry about that. And I think that he's going to be the head of my lineup. Now, this is the part that I love, Andrew, is I've been doing this and it's been working, and I'm going to continue to do it until I see differently. I love pairing him with Jalen Brunson. Brunson's only 4.2. It makes it very palatable. You get the average price of those guys to like a mid-level guy. And the reason I love Brunson is his role on this team is huge. He's a first guard off the bench. He's playing backup point guard. He's also playing backup shooting guard. So that's something different than last year. They're slowly working Reggie Bullock and Sterling Brown into the rotation. They're both getting minutes, but not the quality minutes and finishing the game like Brunson. And I love pairing the Luka Brunson piece together from a pricing standpoint, and it gives you some solidifying there. And yes, when Tim Hardaway's hot from three like he was the last game, he's going to score. But the majority of all of those other statistics, Luka, he's a walking triple-double. But Brunson, you'll see his assists and steals and things be able to jump in there. As far as the bigs for Dallas, again, massive minute splits from all those guys, Cauley Stein, Kleba, Powell, Porzingis, all of them. I'm not paying 7.6 for Porzingis. I don't trust him. Yes, he had a great game the last game. He is better than he was last year. He's blocking some shots. He is at least giving effort this year, but the inconsistency at that price is not worth it. I feel more comfortable going with the two guards.
Yeah. And I personally, the Luka Brunson combo works for me in cash. I don't like it in GPPs.
Right.
But in cash, in a potential blowout, you feel good that you're going to get all of those stats, however they're balanced out. All right, Coach. And for folks who want those lineups and see how they finish out, jump in with us tonight. DFSCoachTalk.com. You're going to get a full DraftKings coaches clipboard with highlighted plays and pivots, and then full lineups on FanDuel and Yahoo, cash and GPP. So hit the website, pick whichever length of time you want, and then after you sign up, we will send you an email, invite you into our Discord, and we give out those lineups about 30 minutes before tip-off.
Yep. And I also wanted to mention, if you're listening to this audio-wise, in 5 days, we have our drawing for a 1-week full membership, full access membership to Coach Talk. All you have to do is hit 5 stars and give us a quick comment. And that's if you're watching us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, all the podcast sites that you can listen to us on. So we'd appreciate that. And as Andrew mentioned earlier, we're really growing on the YouTube side of things. That thumbs up, a quick subscribe button, and really a quick comment or question helps the algorithm to really move us up. So we'd really appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right, game 4. It's the other game at 8:30. Lakers in San Antonio. Lakers favored by 4.5. Total here 221. It is a front end of a back-to-back for the Lakers. They get Oklahoma City tomorrow on the road. And the same guys are still out for the Lakers with Nunn, Ellington, Ariza, THT. But now we have LeBron downgraded to questionable.
Yeah.
Over on the Spurs side, nothing big here with Zach Collins still out. But let's start there here, Coach. LeBron questionable. Thoughts there on if he's in or out?
Well, the amazing thing is, since that posted, it's dropped in the last literally couple of minutes from 4.5 to 2.5 as a favorite for the Lakers, which goes to show you how much LeBron means. Spurs are bad, though. I mean, for the Lakers only be 2.5-point favorites against the Spurs is sort of hard to believe. But, Vegas knows their stuff. Implied total for the Lakers, 112.75 and the Spurs, 110.25. Again, we need the news. I mean, let's face it. We've all said this all along. It's, if LeBron sits, it just changes the entire aspect of the Lakers. Now, what has really carried me thus far is DFS owners keep pounding Westbrook. His ownership's been decent every day, and he's not been good, and he's still 9K. So, does it take LeBron sitting to wake him up and get him a triple-double? That's possible. I'm not willing to risk it, Andrew, at 9K until I see him playing better. And I've said the same thing since preseason all the way into each game this year. I know it's coming. It's Russell Westbrook, but I'm not going to go there. And the Spurs are going to really try to annoy him, have him pick up the ball. And the Spurs backcourt of Murray and White, they know how to defend. So I'm not interested in Westbrook. He'll get a ton of ownership again if LeBron sits. But I'm going to just go back to Anthony Davis again. If LeBron sits, in that theory of, where's all that usage going to go? I know Carmelo's scooping some of that, and I had him last time. He's my hero, but I'm not going to go back there against the Spurs team that'll try to slow it down a little bit. For me, on the Lakers side, it's very simple. I don't want any of their Skabuji guys, Bazemore, Monk, all the split centers that they play. For me, it's very simple. I'm going Anthony Davis for sure. If LeBron sits, if LeBron's given full go, then either LeBron or Davis. I still think that's the spot to go and going to avoid the rest. And they're not playing good ball. They have not put it together yet, but they should be decent, I would think, against the Spurs. Don't you think?
Yeah, I would think so. I think the way I look at it is if LeBron plays, I don't think I'm going to go with any of the big three, and
Okay.
I would probably I would fade the Lakers completely.
Yeah.
If he sits, I'm actually interested in Westbrook and AD.
Yeah.
Because Westbrook, I mean, his shooting percentage is like 35%. He's had all these turnovers, but I haven't played him, but I do think he'll get a triple double if LeBron is out. He'll find a way. So question is, does he have all the turnovers again? Does he shoot poorly again? But he'll have such a high usage volume game that I think he's worth considering. I'm not ready to lock him in on this slate with so many stars, but he would finally be in consideration for me. And
I agree.
AD is at a price where you can certainly play him and pick up some usage. I think it'll be interesting to see if they start Melo, if LeBron is out, or if they keep him in that bench role where he's coming in and heating it up, playing well. They don't really have many guys with depth there. I mean, Doumbouya is on the roster. Could he get some minutes? I don't think we need to mess with that. Melo will be interesting to me. And then interesting that last game they really kind of sat the veterans down. Rondo didn't play. Avery Bradley only 2 minutes. Yeah. Monk had 21 and Austin Reeves at 18. So something to keep in mind here.
They're a mess, man, aren't they? They're a mess.
They are. They're trying to get the big three lined up. As they're shuffling their bench guys. Maybe Rondo gets back in the rotation if LeBron is out, and he would be a pure GPP play after not playing last game. But we'll just wait and see on that. But if LeBron plays, I think you just fade the Lakers. And let's go to that Spurs side. As you said, they've been a little bit underwhelming here, 1-2. They beat Orlando pretty handily, but 2 losses since then. They're all cheap though. I mean, you can if you pick one out here, you can get a decent price on some guys who are playing solid minutes, like the guards, Murray and White. Pirtle, great start here. 5,600 on DraftKings, averaging 12, 10, and 5. He's playable. Keldon Johnson, real nice start to the season. We had a lot of trouble with him last year because he was one of the most volatile players in DFS. And I don't think I'm going to play him tonight, but just want to note that he's off to a good start. Lonnie Walker is the guy that I'm going to keep an eye on here, 4,200, averaging 25 fantasy points a night. So he's got a nice solid role for himself. And then the classic uncertainty with the rest of that Spurs bench. You've got Thaddeus. Oh, here's my favorite stat of the day, Coach. Thaddeus Young, 1 game, 1 fantasy point, and he's 4,800 on DraftKings.
Wow.
So, he's just not quite in that rotation yet. But Spurs is a place tonight for me for a potential value play, or mid-tier with Pirtle or cheaper with Lonnie Walker.
Yeah, we always talk about it. It's you got to say it every day. You don't want to get popped because you never know what the hell he's going to do with his rotation. But Murray and White are really starting to get a little more confidence for me anyway. And Lonnie Walker. It's those 3 guys are their guards that are really playing minutes. So I'm going to keep watching. I'm still a little afraid there. Murray's at 7-3 and White at 6-5. So it's not like they're giveaways. And Lonnie Walker's dangerous. I mean, he at 4-2 can certainly do well for you, but he's in that, Keldon Johnson thing where they can score 35 fantasy points and then 8. So they scare me. But, there is, I can say, believe it or not, Pop seems to be getting a little bit of a rotation consistency here, which he usually doesn't. So we have to continue to watch that. A guy that I like to play from time to time. I played him the other day. He did let me down, but then he had a big game the game after, is Doug McDermott. He's starting now, and he if he gets an open 3, he's going to knock it down. Excuse me. And then, so at 4-5, he's a punt play, a decent GPP play. I agree with you on Keldon Johnson. He's probably really with Murray, the best young player, up-and-coming guy. And at 5-2, it's always dangerous to play him, because you think, okay, that could be a great number. He could smash that 6-7x without any trouble, but you never know when he's going to throw up a 12 spot on you and kill your lineup. So, maybe a GPP play. Pirtle, I get it. He has played terrific. He really played well the other day when I didn't think they could match up. He stepped up and defended the center and was really good. But when you're staring at Anthony Davis, DeAndre Jordan, and Dwight Howard as your 3 interior defenders, that's terrifying. I mean, I don't know if he can, get it done, because really it's him and then backed up by Eubanks, but they don't have any other interior anything. So I just try to fade any paint players against the Lakers in general. So his price is right, but I just don't like him in this matchup. So I'm not, again, a fan of the Spurs as far as DFS goes in general. But I'm going to keep watching Murray and White and Walker. The only spot I would think about if I need to really buy up somewhere is Keldon Johnson or Doug McDermott. Yep.
Certainly could hit value. All right, Coach, last game on the slate, Denver and Utah, 10 o'clock Eastern. Utah favored by 7 at home. Total here, 219. It's a back-to-back for Omaha Joe's Nuggets. They lost to Cleveland last night, Coach, by 12. How did that happen? Good question. That's tough. Their first loss of the season. They beat Phoenix and San Antonio. So maybe just a blip on the radar. We'll see. This is a tough back-to-back for them, though, to go, play that game and now go on the road to Utah.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts there on the Nuggets?
Well, that was a shocking game and a very surprising game. The one, when teams go into Denver or Utah, especially on a back-to-back with the elevation, it affects them. I'm telling you, it's statistically proven. But the fact that Denver is one of the other elevation spot, I don't think going into Utah is as bad. But it is a tough turnaround, especially coming off a loss, going against a good team. And Vegas sees them as a pretty big underdog, the Nuggets. like I'm no sure if you mentioned it, Utah's 7-point favorite. The implied total for Denver 105.75, which is low, and the Jazz 112.75. So you only have a 218.5 number, which is a little concerning. It is the last game of the night. It's an hour and a half late, so later than the last start. So it is a sweat game, late night. And I get it. It doesn't matter when the time the games are. I always preach that. But, you don't want to go, as you put it, naked into this last game and not have any exposure. So if you dig in a little bit here and let's look at the Nuggets first. You've got the Joker at 10-6, and I think he's going to be a lot of people's buy up here, but it's Gobert defense. I respect that. And it's in Utah, but he is the Joker. He's just killing all the numbers across the board. He's been better so far than his MVP season last year, but it's 10-6. So I can't really go Luka and Joker and have the rest of the lineup that I want. So I probably won't go Joker, but I completely understand if that's the buy up. I would assume that's where you're going because, even though it's Gobert, he's still a phenomenal play. On the other side, the other guys with the Nuggets, I think Will Barton at 5'7" is a value. He's getting big minutes. He's got more of a role. He's filled in a lot for Murray's production, I think, even more so than the combination of Morris and Campazzo. So I like Barton as a possible play. Michael Porter Jr. is due to really have a big game. I think he's dangerous in here. So at 6'2", it's below a little bit of that mid-level, becoming somewhat of a decent price. But you don't want to stack guys against Utah. That's never going to work for you. But the two guys that I'm considering in this game, Andrew, are Barton and Porter Jr. What do you think?
I like Barton here. He's my favorite in this game.
Okay.
I like the price. Little better matchup if he gets Donovan Mitchell than some of these other guys. Like you said, we don't want to get big exposure against Utah. And Jokic, a lot of these stars here are in tough spots. I mean, back to back with Rudy Gobert, he has been crushing it, but I can see fading him. It's tough.
Wow.
It's tough, but yeah, if I had to play one Nugget, it would be Barton. I don't think I can invest in Porter Jr. I mean, he could on a dime turn it around and have a big game. Because
Right.
sometimes if he gets hot early, then he's involved defensively. He doesn't get pulled for that, but he's had some duds. I mean,
He has.
7 points and 1 rebound against San Antonio in 27 minutes.
That's nuts.
So, he's a GPP consideration for me, but I'd rather just go Barton. And then I do want to make a point about this Denver rotation.
Okay.
They've been the most straightforward 10-man rotation, I think, in the NBA. Last night, there were a couple guys who played some minutes, but, in garbage time here. But the regular rotation is just straight up, Facu is going to come in for Morris. Rivers comes in for Barton. Dozier comes in for Porter Jr. When Gordon's not on the court, it's Jeff Green. And when Jokic takes a seat, it's JaMychal.
Yep.
So I just want to mention that here. We try to sort through these rotations early in the season and, get confident about ones that we can, because in contrast, we talked about teams like OKC tonight, which are just a complete mess.
Right.
But this one is something you can, really, I think, predict and have confidence in. So with that being said, Barton, that's probably it for me for the primary lineup. On the Utah side, Rudy Gay's out. Other than that, we've got all the guys here that we've been seeing. Ingles got ejected in that game,
Yeah.
but with him back in the rotation, I'm looking at Conley or Clarkson, Coach,
Okay.
as a mid-tier play on DraftKings. 5,600. I think Barton will probably defend Donovan Mitchell, and he's a lot more expensive, so I don't think I can afford him. Rudy Gobert, what a start for him. 16 and 21, and then 17 and 20.
What the heck?
Wow.
Is it the Olympics again or what?
Yeah. And then Whiteside has a good start too off the bench for
Yeah.
Utah in limited minutes. So keep an eye on that front court. I mean, they got to be fired up about that.
Yeah.
They're tough. So they've both been playing well. I don't know if I'll get there tonight. I think I'm probably most likely to get one of the Utah guards.
Yeah, no, good analysis there. And Gobert has been off to a great start. And I've not been on him at all. I mean, I think his price is so high. I mean, at 8-2, you just don't know, the consistency with his scoring specifically is always shaky. And now, that he has a really great, competent backup in Whiteside, I just haven't gone there. And his price has drifted up, and it should with the way he's performed. But I'm not confident going at 8-2, to be honest with you. And if anybody can get him in some foul difficulties, it's the Joker. So we'll see how that rolls. If he puts up another 15-20 game, then so be it. But you're going to be surprised here because this is unlike me. But I like Donovan Mitchell tonight. I just think home game against a Denver team, coming off a back-to-back. I know Barton is respectable defensively, but if Barton's out or he's in foul difficulty of any kind, they don't really have another answer, in my opinion, to stop Mitchell consistently. I know he's expensive at 8-7. I haven't been high on a lot of these mid-tier guys. He's almost above mid-tier. Well, he is at 8-7, but I just think he could have a big game here. And he's not always the most consistent guy to go 5X when his price is this high, but I just think he's going to have the run of the show. I like his usage. Conley's consistently come down in his usage these last couple of years, shows again this year. Bogdanovich not taking the volume shots that he normally does. Royce O'Neal, we know, is in there for the defense. So unless Clarkson comes off the bench and takes a bunch of shots, which is always possible. And at 5'6", I played him a lot last season, haven't played him yet this year. He's always, in contention for a value spot at that 5'6" number. But, I just like the fact that it really does all revolve around Mitchell. He's going to get every shot. And if Denver keeps this game close under the 7 spread throughout, I love Mitchell in the fourth quarter. I've mentioned it several times. He was in the top 3 consistently through all of last year as a fourth quarter closer in the NBA. So I think I may pay up for Donovan here and see if he can roll it out in the late game.
He can certainly smash at times. He can go off. I like that he had 25 shot attempts in the last game.
Yeah,
so
I think that'll continue too. I really do.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. We're going to work on our lineups here. Jump in with us if you'd like at dfscoachtalk.com. and join the family. If you have any questions, you can find us on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. You can find the coach at JOESARVADI. You can find me at Language Olympic. And you can find us all here the rest of the week with these ongoing podcasts and all of our sports. So a lot of fun here with all these sports, and we're going to keep crushing it. So that will do it for today. On behalf of the coach and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team, I'm Andrew Hansen. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time as we look to crush it in DFS.